There have been so many incredible achievements at Pine Street Inn. Most recently, there was the graduation of 77 individuals from the Workforce Development Training Program. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of that day for graduates and what it was like to hold graduation after 3 years?
I have to say it is probably the most inspiring day all year at Pine Street to see people who walked into the shelter homeless, people who walked in with nothing, graduate from a job training program, get employment, on their way to housing. They're an inspiration to all of us who work with them. And we started graduation many years ago. We had a food services training program that is now called I Cater, and it's a social enterprise. We have a catering company that employs homeless people. And as part of the employment in the catering company, folks get some classroom time, they get some soft skills training, and they get help finding a job when they've finished their training portion. And somebody said to me many years ago that he was really proud because he had finished this and he hadn't graduated from high school and he had never been to a graduation. And I thought, well, people deserve to be made a big deal of, and they deserve to stand up there like everyone else. They've had many more obstacles than a lot of other graduates. And it's a lovely day. We often have a speaker who talks about his or her journey. And the speaker this year, a young woman named Sadia, was sleeping in the bus station with her son. And she lost her apartment. Her rent went up. Her pay didn't go up. Rent went up substantially, and she eventually lost her housing. Ended up sleeping at the bus station. Went down to Boston Medical Center. They sent her to a family shelter, and then she joined our training program. She's now found a job. She's got an apartment with her son, and the sky's the limit. I hope this is the beginning for her. But those are the kind of stories that just inspire you when you watch how hard things have been for her, but how much she persevered.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to see people have another chance, have a second chance to have the life that they want.
Yes, absolutely.
In May, Boston Planning and Development Agency, they unanimously approved a collaborative project between Pine Street Inn and the community builders, and in which you will be converting the Comfort Inn that's on 900 Morrissey Boulevard to permanent supportive housing for vulnerable populations. But there is a focus on seniors. Can you talk about the vision behind this project and its latest developments?
So since COVID started, we've actually been looking for a hotel to convert to housing. It's an idea that there's been a few of these conversions across the country before COVID, but during COVID, it became a much bigger area of interest for two reasons. A lot of shelters, including ours, in order to stop the spread of COVID, we really had to find alternative sites for people, and hotels were one of the sites we used. We leased up 2 separate hotels where people shared rooms. But it occurred to us through that process that a lot of these hotel rooms, some of which actually had small kitchenettes and were really set up as a small studio apartment, really could be easily converted. And so we've been looking literally since probably the first couple of months of COVID. It's been challenging to find a hotel that worked for a variety of reasons: location, cost, accessibility. And this hotel really ticked all the boxes, so we're very excited. We will be able to convert the hotel to 99 units of permanent supportive housing for elders. Wow. And the lovely thing about a hotel like that is, it's very accessible, right? There's a working elevator, the systems are in good shape. The apartments we build, not hotels necessarily, are about 350 square feet. They're very small studio apartments with a small bathroom, a little kitchenette, enough room for a bed, a bureau, right. A 2-person kitchen table. It's about the size of a hotel room. So the conversion, we hope, will be relatively easy and quick. There'll be a lot of lovely common space on the ground floor, and it's really exciting to be able to add housing for seniors in particular, because we know, just like everybody else, we've got baby boomers in our population. Those folks are aging. They're faced with many more challenges, a lot of medical issues, mobility issues, and to be able to renovate this building and direct it to seniors is just a home run.
And what are some of the other efforts that are currently being made to create permanent supportive housing for men and women experiencing homelessness in the city?
So you and I were just talking about this. We've got a big project right down the street here from the studio, right here on Washington Street in Jamaica Plain. That building, we're probably 8 months away from finishing construction there. That's a new construction. Pine Street owned a warehouse there where we did some job training and we used it for storage. At one point we were in a thrift store there. But it was underutilized space. It's a good sized site, so we're partnered again with community builders, and they're literally building the building, and then when it's completed, there'll be 220 units, and we will have, Pine Street will have access to 140 of those units for formerly homeless people. The other units will also be low income, but those are bigger than the studio apartments that we'll be using to help move people out of homelessness.
That's great. And Mayor Wu has allocated a sizable amount of funding, $16.5 million, to combating homelessness in Boston. What are your hopes for this funding, and how will Pine Street Inn be involved in the conversation for directing how this money is spent?
So this money is money that originates with HUD, and we as a city are part of what is called our own continuum. So the way it works is that all of the agencies in Boston that work with homeless people, you know, Pine Street, the city's own shelter, St. Francis House, Home Start, the agencies that do placement and work hard to get people out of homelessness, each submit an application to the city, and that entire application goes to HUD. And often what's included in that funding is rental assistance. Sometimes there's capital included for acquisition or rehabbing a building. Sometimes there's short-term help for people that are, you know, just need a smaller bridge out of homelessness. And so that part of this money is a renewal for existing housing. A small portion of this year's money is going to more street outreach, so we can work directly with people on the street, and Pine Street will be the beneficiaries of that. And it will allow us to expand our street teams. We really do two things on the street. We have 2 outreach vans that go out from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. every night, working with people directly who don't come into shelter, some cases transporting people, in other cases providing, you know, basic first aid and very basic help for folks, right? Food and blankets and things like that. And then we have a daytime team that tries to follow up and works with people directly on the street to get them into housing, fill out applications, and that could be a whole variety of things. Benefits, it could be employment, it could be someone needs to get into treatment, and we'll work with them on that. You know, last year alone, we placed 100 people directly from the street into housing, and so this new pot of money will allow us to place more people into housing directly from the street. And I would say that of all the things we do, it's the hardest, takes the longest, and you know, once folks are staying outside and they don't ever come in to shelter or one of our programs, just the logistical challenges are just so much more difficult.
And since 1969, Pine Street Inn has worked tirelessly to provide a safe alternative to the streets. What misconception would you like to dispel about homelessness in Boston?
The stereotype that homeless people aren't motivated and they don't want to work, the opposite's true. People have to work twice as hard. They have so many bigger hills to climb, and the push out is so much harder that many of us could never do it. And so to me, that stereotype that, you know, somehow the majority of homeless people are something different than they really are. You know, a smaller group that's really struggling, and we know who those folks are, and in many ways, supportive housing really is the solution for those people, not for everybody. But I think I'm always, astounded, surprised at the stereotypes and the fear. You know, I've been doing this, as you said, for 40 years. I've not once been afraid, not once felt unsafe. So the stereotype doesn't match the reality on this one.